Ahlan wa sahlan and welcome to the Habibis podcast. Three game developers drinking good Arab tea. I'm your host, poses as more apparently, or Fawzi Mesmar as known in other areas.
I'm Osama Darius, apparently.
And I'm Rami Ismail because when AI voice transcription transcribes my voice, it does it perfectly.
Well, look at you, la dida. I'm the one that had to pose as more apparently. Today we're also joined by a very special guest. We have Nuha Alkadi here with us. Hello, Nuha.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Yo.
salam.
Walaikum salam.
We're so
Good
happy to have you.
I'm so excited. I'm happy to be here.
um, I guess we should talk about video games first then. Or Nuha, do you want to introduce yourself? Maybe that's even better.
Sure. I am a narrative designer at Ubisoft Toronto, so I do a lot of story stuff in games. That is my jam. It is my life.
I love story stuff.
Story
to
stuff's
have you
good.
around.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
You know, I was a
I'm-
narrative designer at one point.
Oh,
I worked
yeah.
when I was at Gameloft. I was a narrative designer for 3 years. I really
wow.
love it. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, wait, you worked at Gameloft? We need to compare notes at some point.
Oh, absolutely. I have volumes of notes from Gameloft.
Oh.
A lot of stuff to share, not on the air.
Yes, let's do that.
I have only made games about explosions.
There's a lot of narrative and explosions. So it works.
You
lot
come
of-
with so many
our-
stories.
Our narrative is in the screen shake. Yeah, I look forward to doing a bit more story work though. Like it's going to be interesting. I'm on a few like larger projects right now, not as a lead as I used to be at Vlambeer before we shut that studio down, but as somebody working on other people's projects, and that's been really interesting because I've never really worked for anybody in that way.
Rami, are you going to do the thing where you accidentally announce something? I remember like once you accidentally announced the game.
I mean, I guess I'm announcing that I'm working on things,
Yeah, there you go.
That's something.
not just sitting around here.
All right. How about we start talking about games now? It might be a good time.
What have you played this summer?
Okay, well, I played 2 games. I continued to play a little bit more of Loop Hero, not a lot, but just enough to get to this point where I'm feeling that I'm not really making a lot of progress, and it's that part of the loop is it's not a great feeling. Do you have the same experience?
No, not at all.
So what's your
Which
secret?
sounds very arrogant now that I'm saying it that way.
Well, what are you doing that I'm not doing?
I know, like obviously one of the things to look for is what resources do you need and how do you get them. Are you letting your carts overflow?
No, I'm not. Should I? I didn't know that was
so
a
there's
mechanic.
a number of resources that you can only get from overflowing your stacks, whether it's your inventory stack or your cart stack.
Yes. Okay, so I'm trying. Like, I went into this blind. I'm not looking up any strategy guides or anything like that. And I'm seeing that maybe that's a mistake. Maybe to get more out of the game, I should be doing that.
So honestly, the most important thing I will say is like try and do everything against your intuition as well. There's a lot of systems that work in counterintuitive ways almost, and it's fun to just kind of play and see what that does. I will say it is also sometimes horrifying. Be careful with ruins and wheat fields because both of those will wreck you.
Yeah.
But in general, like doing stuff that seems like a bad idea sometimes works out really well. So the worse the card seems, the more interesting it is to mess around with.
Yes, but there was actually one time where I did that and I died. Basically, the game presented me with a choice, and I'm like, that doesn't sound like a good option. But since the game is asking me if I want to do this, I'll try it. And I instantly died and unlocked an achievement for dying outside of combat. I'm like, okay, maybe I should tread more carefully here.
I mean, everything in the game could and will kill you, which is kind of the wonder of it. There's a lot of like fun little strategies that you can figure out, but most of them involve adjacent tiles, touching tiles, or letting things do the opposite of what you think they should do.
Interesting. Okay, well, that breathes new life into the game. Now I'm gonna hit up a guide or two. And so, yeah, I've actually been playing another game as well. I've played a game called Star Renegades. It's made actually in Canada and out of Toronto. by a
Nice.
company called Massive Damage. Yes, exactly. So the game is a tactical, turn-based strategy game with roguelite elements. So this is the caveat. I've only played it for 5 hours, and I haven't died yet. So I did not experience the roguelite aspect of the game. So what
It's
I'm
very light, it seems.
well, that's confusing to me too, because I went in knowing it was a roguelite, so I was expecting to die. I mean, so to tell you a little bit more about the game, it's gorgeous. The pixel art is really, really good. The pixel art animation, even the character designs, all gorgeous, all really, really. It's a pleasure to look at. The combat system is really good. It's very interesting. It's something new. It's turn-based, but there's a timeline that's on top of your screen that tells you when your action is going to take place and when when the enemy's actions are going to take place. That so far, that's kind of, I wouldn't say standard, but it's like I've seen it before. What's interesting about it is that your attacks have different execution times. So when you're like scrolling through which different attacks or actions that you could take, it'll tell you where on the timeline they would sit.
Right.
And that's actually an interesting choice already. Add to that, certain actions can push the enemy's attacks back. And if you push them back far enough on the timeline, you could cancel the action for that turn completely,
Right.
which is really interesting. And the other thing added to that on top of it is that if you attack a unit that hasn't used their attack or action yet, you do critical damage. But the same is true of you. So if you're going to do one of those long wind-up attacks, any unit that attacks you between then will do critical damage on you. So the risk reward is there, and it's heavy. And because of that, every fight kind of feels like a puzzle that you're solving. Like, what's the best way to approach this in a very interesting, in a very, like, still kind of procedural way, right? Because they're throwing different enemies at you. There's more to the game. There's a lot to the game. Actually, that's one of my criticisms. Right. Everything I just told you right now and more is explained to you in a set of pause screen tutorials in the first 45 minutes of the game, as well as all the exposition of the story all at once. So it's like the fun doesn't start for almost an hour.
It's an hour of text.
It's a shame because the rest of the game is actually really good. The combat was really fun once I figured out on my own how to do it. It's just, there would have been a better way to introduce that. And I fear that maybe they lost some players along the way who didn't have the patience to sit through that.
Right.
That's cool.
Cool.
Nuha, what have you been playing?
I started playing a game called Röki. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's
With the 2 dots over the
yes,
yeah.
that one. And it's really cute. It's a really cute like adventure game, like point and click in a way, but it uses the keypad, and it's like based off of like Scandinavian mythology and folklore. It's like a very whimsical but also yet suspenseful game. It's really cute. Like it reminds me of like if you guys watch the kid show on Netflix Hilda, it's very much like
Yeah.
that. If you like Hilda, I think you'll like this game.
How do you spell it? I'm having a hard time finding it.
Roki, but the O has 2 dots on it.
Since I'm Googling it right now, it'll come up with the game and also images of Rocky Balboa. What his name is spelled. You got a new character. You got a new character. It's Rocky. But what kind of game is it, Nuha? Is it a
adventure, like puzzle game? Like you have to like find objects to solve puzzles with. And like the story's cute. It also has like some conflicts and stakes, but also you meet like different monsters and characters, and it's like very adorable and zen. And like I was playing it, I just felt relaxed while playing it, even though there's like a very impactful story happening. But like the mood and the atmosphere is just, it's so nice. Like I just got lost in that game because, well, not lost literally, but like lost in like I was just so focused on the game. It's like an interesting world, but
I really like the art and I like the monster designs. Yeah, this is interesting. I remember it now. So I saw someone streaming it the other day, and I didn't know what game it was, but it's really, really interesting.
Are you
Yeah.
playing it on PC or something else?
Yeah, I got on PC. I think it's also on Switch. It came out last summer. And I heard about it then, but then I saw on Steam it was on sale, so I picked it up, and it was definitely worth it. Even full price, I think it's worth it. But I'm still playing it. Like I only played a few hours so far, and I think it's about 10 hours long. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm already invested in it at this point.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
It-
Well, on story-based games, I played a whole bunch of Persona 5 Strikers
Right.
last week.
What do
Did
you
you
think?
see what I'm trying to do? I was trying to do the Osama transition.
Right.
How do you rate me on these?
I always rate you at 10. Honestly, especially when you're posing as more.
See what I was trying to do? I was trying to pose as Fawzi and Osama at the same time. The AI knew this was gonna happen.
I'm literally just gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Let's. But Fawzi, okay, tell me, Persona 5 Strikers. I told you last time we talked about it. I told you at the first battle you feel like you're home.
You are absolutely right. It
Yeah.
felt like I was coming back home. These are the characters I missed so much. These are the places I've been to before. And like they do this thing also when the game starts, in which like they take you back to some of the places where you used to hang out. It's odd to feel nostalgic. Well, for me, it's like it's nostalgic in two ways because Shibuya is a place that I was intimately familiar with. So like the first game made me nostalgic to that to begin with.
Right.
But like in this one, I am now nostalgic to the Shibuya in Persona 5, which made me nostalgic to Japan.
Right.
uh, it's wonderful. So like you go like this is a DLC. Like no, it's an entirely different game made by a different team, but feels in every single way like it's a Persona 5 game.
Right.
That's great.
It's like the hidden chapters or like it's like stuff that should have been in the game but made it out afterwards. And you know, like what I love the notion of it is that this is not just like the Persona 5 happened in Tokyo, and this one they're going on a road trip, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm already seeing more of Japan as they're traveling, and that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're gonna have a
So
good
excited.
time. You're gonna have a very good time.
Yeah, it's like also like I don't know about you, but like I like the episodes in the anime when there's the beach episode, there's the barbecue episode,
Yes.
The baseball episode, right?
the
They have
baseball.
these
I like
tropes.
those.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
those, like you know, the regular heroes kind of on vacation doing
Yeah.
stuff.
I like it because it gives them an opportunity to like let the personalities of the characters come out and see different dynamics that you don't usually get from the regular action episodes of those shows. So yeah, absolutely.
Totally. So like it's this game feels that it gives you more time to spend, gives you an opportunity to spend more time with people you really like or liked before. The music also helps with the nostalgia because like there's the wonderful soundtrack from Megoroka like playing all over the thing from Persona 5.
But did you notice that they're like heavier remixes?
Yes, and they're
So
also like
good.
yes, I was about to say like they have like the Mosu kind of vibe to them, especially in the fights and the dungeon areas.
So good.
A bit more like a rocky and more metal in some areas, which is quite nice. I love the new characters that they've added, like really cool and wacky, and a perfect fit to the rest of the oddball group. And it just oozes style. So like you can, like the menus, for example, they're completely remade in this one, but you know they are Persona style menus. They're like completely like oozes with charm and has a sense of attitude and style. The combat system, surprisingly, it's actually made me think because the combat system is not that complex. It's like you mash a bunch of buttons. There's strategy towards it, and there's a clever reuse of the elemental system that is in 5. They somehow made it work.
Right.
It's a completely new combat system, but somehow you go like, this is exactly like you said, Rami. It's exactly, wasn't this how it worked before?
Right.
And like it was turn based. It's not action at all. But like they captured every single aspect of that system, and maintained its essence. And like really hats off to the design team there. Like some solid work.
It really feels like a new game in the Persona 5 series.
Yeah.
And it's weird because there is no Persona 5 series. There's only the
Yeah,
Persona
exactly.
series, but this feels like it's just a spin-off series. And if they come with more stuff at this quality level, I'll play more Persona 5.
So there's also the dancing game, the
Right.
Persona 5 dancing all night or something.
Right.
But I think, like, having the ability to spin so much spin-offs, and there's Persona 5 Royal. That's why I'm thinking franchise, because this is already like the fourth Persona 5 game.
Right. Persona
And
5
I think
4.
it speaks a lot to how deep and rich the world they've built
Right.
with Persona 5. Like how like really fleshed out those characters are, how interesting the story and the world is.
You might have a bit of an insight, Fawzi, but if I feel like a lot of Japanese games are doing this, because I saw the same with Final Fantasy 15, right, which
Yeah.
just spun off in its entire own universe.
Yeah.
Like,
It's I still remember this to this day. My manager in Atlas actually taught me this, and he's like, he said this sentence that's really stuck with me. He's like, I'm not only in the game making business, I'm in the IP making business.
right.
It's like when I'm making a new game, I am considering how I can create transmedia around this game.
Right.
And he's like, a game can sell, and you can make sales off the game. An IP is forever.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
That's very smart.
and you can see that, like, when Persona 3 came out, there was a full anime series. We had the manga coming out, and we had a motion picture, like a live action movie came out. And not just Japan, I think all of Asia at the time was just drowned with Persona 3 memorabilia, and it's kind of like building up on the IP rather than just building up on the game, which is fascinating. And you can see, like, they kind of still have that same mentality with Persona 5.
Clearly, they keep adding stuff to it.
It's
Gosh, y'all
great.
played so many video games. I didn't have any time to play anything at all.
Except for a Loop Hero.
Well,
Except
yeah,
for
I
like
mean,
a lot of Loop Heroes.
I played Loop Hero. I tried to catch up a little bit on Destiny where I could. That remains very good. I played some Flight Simulator. They have a UK update, so Birmingham Palace now looks like a palace instead of an office building. That's nice. But I think genuinely that, God, what have I done? I've gotten a new chair. I've got a new off chair. Okay. Listen.
That doesn't count unless it's a
Only-
gaming chair.
So
Only a year after the pandemic started, does Rami think, hey, my back hurts?
So okay, that is genuinely what happened. Okay, like last week I had a bit of a health scare because I had like a very strong stab in my chest,
Oh, no.
upper left, and I was
no.
like, oh, that feels really bad. I should probably go and see a doctor. So I had a bit of a tingle in my left arm as well. I'm like, okay, you know what? Call doctor. Like,
Yeah,
this
definitely.
this could be bad. So I called the doctor, went to the doctor, and the doctor, did some tests, checked my heart, because the symptoms were kind of like in line with potential heart issues. So they checked on me, and she just went like, no, I don't think it's your heart. It's too high to be your heart. It's probably your shoulder, right? Your shoulder just got stuck, and it's obstructing something that makes your arm tingly if you're in a weird position or something. And so she just asked me a bunch of questions, and I have one of those standing desks, so I can switch between standing and sitting. But I spend still a lot of hours sitting. I mostly stand when I'm programming, and I want to have a little bit of music to sort of dance to a little. So I thought, okay, you know what? If this is going to be a problem for me, I want a really good chair. So I Googled for the best chairs, and you kind of get two options. You get office chairs or you get gaming chairs, right? And now the office chairs are just office chairs. And they can be ergonomic and all sorts of support things. And you have gaming chairs, which just look like, what's the polite way of saying it?
My colleagues call my chair like I'm driving a rally car.
Right. Accept it. I found a combination between the two. It's a brand called Herman Miller, and it's a really fancy office brand apparently. And they have a collaboration with Logitech G, which is Logitech's like gaming arm nowadays.
None of those companies sponsor the show, by the way. Yeah.
Nobody sponsors our show.
Nobody sponsors our show. They all know better.
Right.
We should reach out to tea companies and see if they can sponsor our show.
You just start the episode with, I'm drinking some good
Ahmed tea.
Yeah.
3 game developers slurping good Arab tea.
That's a yellow label.
But yeah, nobody tells you how much of a difference a good chair makes. Like, genuinely, I sat down in this chair and everything is adjustable. Like from the way it pushes your spine into shape to how high, how far out the arms are, how high the arms are, how far forward the seating area goes, or how close it stays to your legs. So I've got like support. Like I've been working in this chair for 2 or 3 days now, and you get out of the chair and you're like, wait, I have energy left for today. How did that? Was my old chair that bad?
Rami, you could tell that the blood of the pharaohs run through you because it only took you 1 year before your back broke. It took me like 3 days, seriously, from working from home. I was like, I need to get me a nice chair because I
don't think it has anything to do with blood of the pharaohs. How old are you, Fawzi?
Not on this podcast. Thank you very much.
So
maybe I have the blood of the pharaohs. You might have the age of the pharaohs, my friend. Like, I don't...
That's what I get for giving you a compliment.
You also have the wisdom of the pharaoh, I suppose.
Okay, much better. Nice save.
Like to add to Fawzi's point, it took me about a week, and I wasn't the only one complaining. And actually, work let us go into the office and pick up our ergonomic chairs from the office and bring them home, and that was extremely kind of them because it really saved my butt back, name it. But yeah, before that I was sitting in this Costco bought office chair, and it was fine when I'm just on the computer at night, browsing a bit. It was not fine when you're in it for 8+ hours a day nonstop.
But I understand, buying furniture of any kind and decorating a household is a very big event in an Arab household.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that was a little bit like I've been looking at this office space and I've been thinking like, how do I redecorate it, right? Like how do I put new stuff in there? It kind of feels like a big, because I've always seen back in Egypt, if we would redecorate, it was like we go out of the house for like 3 weeks because there's like fake marble coming in and like plaster for like fake pillars with like ornamental designs, and it's just like this place is not gonna you're not gonna be, or like like the couches and the chairs, and they're all these like super fancy. They're not fancy. They're kind of what is the right, like they're borderline between kitsch and I'm just thinking about having that
fancy.
Now I'm just thinking about having that as an office chair, and I think my back just instantly died.
Well, the true Arab way to have a new furniture in the house is that once you get the chair or the couch or whatever, it needs to remain wrapped in plastic,
right?
Forever.
Important.
Yes.
Forever.
Mm-hmm.
The plastic never goes off.
No.
Yeah. Did you also have the thing where your TV remote was wrapped in saran wrap?
Yes,
or was that just...
exactly. The TV remote.
It still is.
My parents actually, instead of leaving the plastic on the couches, they just cover it in blankets. So I don't actually know what color a couch is to this day. I don't know what color a couch is.
That's so perfect.
I think I have like I don't know, some kind of complex, because whenever I get the new phone, I just can't wait until I peel the plastic off.
Yeah, the same.
It's like this plastic is not staying because I've had plastic staying on my stuff for a long time.
Right.
Absolutely.
But
also, like in Syria, people have 2 living rooms. One where it's the nice furniture.
Oh,
and actually they take it all off and it looks really pretty. And the other living room's the actual one they live in that's not as pretty. And they close the doors on the nice one and they only let guests in there. You are not allowed to actually chill in that room. That's only for guests. It is off limits.
We talked a little bit about the niche, the like fancy cutlery and stuff, and the plates in the first episode. But this is an extension of that, right? Like it's
Yeah.
it's there's the place that is for other people to see, and you would like. I don't know. Did you all do this? Because when I was a kid, I would sneak into that room all the time and sit in one of the chairs for a little bit. And feel,
Oh, yeah.
I would feel so fancy. I would feel
Every
so
time
fancy.
I did that, I got the ship.
I mean,
Every single
So we've lived in houses where we had that room, and we've also lived in houses where we didn't have that room because, like, the size of the house. We've moved from different houses. What's interesting is in the houses where we don't have that room, our living room converts into that room when guests come over. Like, there's decoration that pops up out of nowhere. I don't know where my mom stores them, and like, oh, we have plants. Where did we get plants?
and they're alive.
How did we work this out?
The thing that I like a lot about these rooms is that on that room in display, there's always like a bunch of ornaments. And I'm pretty sure like everybody bought the same ornaments from the same bazaar. There's always some kind of wooden camel.
Right.
Yes.
Or 5.
Yes.
There's always these paintings hanging on the wall that say Subhanallah or like Ayatul Kursi or something like that.
Yep.
And there's always like an incense, the thing I used to jump over. What did we agree that thing is called?
We had a wooden camel, true, but we also had a wooden elephant and a wooden falcon.
No,
so I'm one up in you.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm just kind of curious. This story of Fawzi jumping over incense, does that ring a bell? Like, is that something that you? Okay, so it's just genuinely my belief that Fawzi's friend have been making fun of him for like decades of his life, and he still hasn't figured it out. Because I found nobody who understands that story.
Let me completely clarify that I never did it myself. I just heard.
I will say it is enjoyable trying to think about how and imagine how that works.
No,
we need a video. We've been begging for one for a while.
I know what's gonna happen if I send you a video. So
right.
No.
Fawzi, can you just make sure that if you do the video, you do it in front of a green screen? Just nothing.
It'll save some editing time.
Save some work. No, but do you also have these hexagonal like little table things?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Right. The sort of super ornamental ones.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff like back in Syria, we brought some of it back with us in the 90s when we came to live in Canada. Like we had a lot of Syrian mosaic stuff. It's a very like it's like the wooden mosaic look.
Right.
Everything we owned was basically that because our uncle had a wood shop in Suhamadiya. He's probably still there, to be honest, selling this stuff to tourists. And so we got a lot of that. And surprisingly enough, I did find a Syrian mosaic tissue box at a thrift store here for $4. And it's the exact same design as all the other things we have. So it could have been made by the same person or like from the same suit. It was crazy. And they were selling it for like $4. That could sell for hundreds of dollars on eBay.
Right.
I could probably get it for 50 cents.
Right.
Just give me some time with your uncle, and I'll manage to haggle the price down.
Oh, try haggling with your own uncle though. He'll give you for free, and you're just like, no, we have to give you something.
I've always we always used to have those little hexagonal tables, and they would always open up at the top.
Yeah.
And there would be this like sort of like red, sort of like soft material inside, and then stuff would be in there. I always thought that they were sort of like secrets. So I'd always like see if something was hidden in there, and it was usually like the remote control or something.
Wrapped in saran wrap.
Right.
Double protection.
Did you guys ever like we used to have those like tiny wooden tables, but on the surface of them, I think they're similar to some tissue boxes that Nuha was talking about. They'll have like very shiny like shell material. Look like a shiny Pokemon card,
Right.
And there's like all these like kind of shell kind of things. And there's sometimes chairs made out of the same material, like arabesque kind of wooden structure. But I've never seen anyone sit on them. Like they're just like always in the room, like those wooden arabesque. But like nobody seems to sit on them, even when guests.
They're not comfortable. They just kind of look good.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you sit on them?
It's like something you admire, it seems, rather than you sit on.
It looks like a throne.
Right. But you're like the steward of Gondor, not the king of Gondor, so you don't get to sit on it. It's that kind of thing.
Actually, now that I think about it, the only time I've seen people sit on them is for pictures at weddings. Like they kind of like,
Right.
do they bring the chair to the wedding? Is that what? Are you storing it in your house for weddings? Is that what happens?
I don't they happen frequently, so you know.
Yeah.
So would you because okay, so standard living room, right? Like you've got like the chair for the head of the house, which
wrapped in plastic.
Right, wrapped in plastic. And they have like one or two couches.
Yeah.
Covered in blankets.
Right. then the TV, which is sort of like the heart of the house still in many ways. And then a big carpet on the floor.
The most colorful carpet you can think of.
Right. Right.
The colors of the carpet matches nothing.
Right. And then the takif, the air conditioning is sort of like near the throne. Right. The head of the house. That's the living room, right? That's the normal living room, and there's like a small table, right?
Yeah. Head of the house has supreme control over the remote control.
Right. Right.
You can submit requests, but they can easily get ignored.
Right. And if they're leaning away from the table the remote is on, they will ask one of their children to bring the remote to them because now they have to lean forward, right? They have to be like, Rami,
even if their kid is in another room.
Rami, huh? Remote. It's right next to you, Dad. Yeah. No. I'm old. Grab the remote from me.
And they have like their arms sticking out too, like waiting. Like you already extended the arm, you have to give it now.
Right.
Rami basically took a bus to come back to hand over his dad the remote.
Okay, so that's the living room, right? And then there's like a little table for some drinks. Did you have large? You had large families, I think. At least Osama.
Yes.
Would you
We're
also
a family
like
of 5.
clear that room and just put newspapers on the ground for like big dinners or something?
Yes. Okay. We actually, when we had 2 living rooms, one of our living rooms actually had, I don't know, like futons, like the couches without legs, like on the ground, you know what I mean? It's like cushions basically everywhere, all around the room. And that room was for when larger like invites happened. So it was already set up. Newspapers was a thing, but we also had sufra, which was like actually a thing made for it. You just open it up. It's kind of like, it looks like a camping tarp, but not like fancier. And we just like opened it up and put all the food on the floor and invited people over. Yeah.
All right.
One important item missing from the description of the living room is that there's always a photo, preferably in black and white, of a member from the family. Someone.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I don't even recognize who that person is.
Years ago.
Oh, God.
Yes. Shaking hands with somebody important.
Right.
It's every single household.
It's so true.
Another common item as well is usually a shisha that is either still in use or hasn't been used for like decades.
Right.
But it's still there.
Yeah.
Like a decade of dust.
It will taste like the 70s.
Right. Probably still smells like the 70s too. And
there's these things. I don't know what they're called in English, actually. Maybe you guys can help me out. They're like tiny little cloths. They're like white cloths. They're made out of crochet. Like and they're
doilies?
usually in the center of a table.
right.
And you put the stuff on top of them. However, when you're
Doilies,
serving
right?
stuff, you remove these things away. So I don't understand the purpose of these things.
Right.
It's not to put stuff on them. They're just in the middle of the table when there's nothing on the table.
Yep, they're exactly that. I looked it up. They're called doilies.
Doilies.
That's
what
it is.
Yeah, doilies. And every single table had them, and they don't do anything. They don't protect the table, because they have holes in them. Like if anything spills, it's going straight to the table.
And if you spill something on the doily, my mom used to lose it. She was like, "You ruined this thing." I was like, "I don't know what it does."
That's what my mom puts on my PlayStation. I don't know why.
That's so true. We had one on the TV as well.
Yeah, like why?
Right? There must be a purpose for this.
Oh my god!
Like it doesn't help collect with the dust or anything because there's holes in it. So like I don't actually know the reason.
Well, maybe when you remove it, there's like dust in a beautiful mosaic form on your PlayStation. And that's it. I'm not
Oh, I
sure.
love it.
Oh my god.
It's the absolute nightmare.
It's so good. It's so good.
We used to put them on TVs, on
Everything.
Yeah,
on
TVs, yes.
on
Absolutely.
videotape players,
Right.
But
on
why?
the stereo.
I still don't get why.
And okay, so that's the living room full of doilies. So not a guest room. Is that also like 2 chairs with a table in the middle?
Yes,
they're like-
less likely to have a 3-seater. Most likely to have like several one-seaters
Right.
or 2-seaters.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it almost, like when you see photos of like presidents meeting,
Yeah.
I feel like those rooms always aspire to be those rooms.
Yes, I
Yes.
agree 100%.
Yes,
and they'll have
absolutely.
like a giant portrait. If they're going to be a portrait in the house, it's going to be in that room, like
Right.
a painting of a family member or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always the thing that gets me is just like the choice of how those chairs look, specifically those chairs, right? Is like these sort of like thin wooden round, usually sort of like a semi-round top, and then it kind of goes down and sort of like shrinks a little in width, right? And there's just sort of like a pillow, but it's like a sturdy pillow in the back behind you. Like it's super uncomfortable.
It's not
Like
comfortable
you
at
lean
all.
back into it and you're like, who put bricks in this chair? Right.
And that's the room that if there's anything in it that's metal, it's like gold. It's fake. Of course, it's not real gold. It's like it's fake gold everywhere. It's like usually the color of that room is like red and gold.
Right.
That's the royal colors, I guess.
And
Right.
that room always has like the coffee thermos. It's not a thermos. It's like that the typical, sometimes made out of gold too, like fake gold.
Like the kettle.
It's like the very traditional looking Arab kettle with
Right.
like a taco bird beak
Right.
Yes.
for a novel, and like you
Yes.
have like the little like coffee shots in which you drink that very bitter coffee from.
Yeah. Nobody has used it in my lifetime, but it's there.
Man. That they usually would call me to like that. Usually the kids are the ones that serve the coffee when you have like a guests over. So like when you have guests over, I'd be summoned to the forbidden room,
Right.
which I like quite enjoyed. But like, oh my god, it's my time to shine. I'm gonna go
This
in.
is it.
And like, this is the moment I've been preparing my entire life for this. I'm gonna step into the forbidden room and meet all these important guests
Yeah.
and give them shots of coffee.
Yeah.
I hope I don't screw this up by spilling coffee on someone. And of course, my dad will be very proud.
Right,
Fawzi
yes.
pours coffee. He's the best person in the world at pouring coffee.
Right.
And then somebody else goes like, he's the best. You should see my son. And then they start.
My son is an engineer and he pours good coffee.
Even before doing the coffee, when you get summoned to that room, you have to go and say hello.
I need
if
to
you
go in
screw
and
up,
kiss
you're in
every
trouble.
single person.
Right.
You have to choose the most important person first.
Right.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
older,
You're right.
the elder. You can't screw it
You're
up. If you go
Yeah,
to somebody
no.
else closest, you're in trouble.
And nobody explains this stuff to you either. There's not like a briefing beforehand with, okay, if you see this guy has a long beard and his wife, she will be, go to those first. Those are really important. It's just like you go in and you look at the people, and you're like, who's the most terrifying of you? who exudes an air of, if you don't greet me first, your parents will hear of this. And you just go in and you're like, Assalamu alaikum.
Have you ever been that person? It's actually incredibly uncomfortable. When I go and I visit Iraq, the first day and the first day only, I sit at the head of the table because I'm the guest. Then it's whoever usually sits there that goes the next day and the day after that. But the first day, I'm the one who everyone comes and says like salam to first. I don't like that feeling. Don't break my rank. I'm not used to it.
It's so funny, like like we're talking about this guest room and like this extra area where like people go in, and oftentimes when I like tell my Western friends about this, they be like, oh, or like even worse, my Japanese friends will be like, you have enough space for an extra room?
To be fair, those guest rooms are usually also very small. Like they might sound relatively large, but they're usually wide enough to put 2 chairs with a table for tea in between. and then like length with like 2 couches for other guests to sit across from each other.
Yes, in Iraq, in my mom's family, although they had that guest room in their homes like normal, but in my dad's family, they come more from a rural area. It's called Shamia, and in that area, the houses don't have their own guest rooms. They have a separate building between them because all the family lives very close to each other. It's called the Mudif, and it's like this building where the entire building is a guest house that's
Wow.
shared by everyone who's around it. That's actually where I slept when I went to visit them. It's a big hall with one closed off bedroom and a bathroom, and that's the entirety of the
Wow.
of the that's what the building is.
We have
And
something similar in Jordan. We call the Diwan, and it's usually every family that they will share, like, not like a small unit family, like the entire clan. They will share this Diwan, which is like this its own structure, a big house
yeah,
or a building with bathroom and amenities, and they use it for
yeah,
like weddings, funerals,
exactly.
big events. So it's like a clan kind of house.
Yeah,
I feel
it's like a community center, but like for the family, like a family center
Absolutely.
type thing. Yeah,
That's a
exactly.
great way to describe it.
Like my mom's family lived in Baghdad, so like they're straight up in the city. You're not going to be able to do that in the city, right? But in the country, generally families just like they have a huge plot of land, and then when someone gets married and needs their own house, you'll just build the house on that land, like, and you'll just expanding that way. So it's much easier to be like, okay, this plot between us, this is reserved. Nobody is going to live here because it's between us. We're just going to erect a giant building there. So
Right.
Do they
it has
have
a lot
one
to
of
do
the
with
kids sit in that plot of land and then start parking cars there? Is that, is that what happens?
One more for you then. All right, the ceiling, right?
Yes.
Are your ceilings also just with this sort of like plaster, just like these super intricate
Oh my God.
flower patterns,
Yes.
like stuff like that on the ceiling, and then just like the most decorated lamp you can possibly think of for the it's like you're like, where did
Thousands of crystals.
yeah, why did how did this, and they're all glass, right? None of it is crystal.
Yeah.
And so
No,
there's
that's not crystal. No.
those ceiling patterns were always the most fascinating thing to me because it took me years to realize that is not in the Netherlands. You don't pay attention to ceilings as much, I guess. But like
Yeah.
the ceilings in the West are all just like flat. You have a ceiling.
Yeah.
In the air world, it's a statement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very elaborate. It's like you're
Right.
going into a Greek temple
Right.
of some sort.
Yeah.
You also have the fake plaster pillars everywhere.
Yeah.
If there's
Oh, I
space
have
to
those.
put pillars. Yeah, you have those as well.
We used to stay at my grandma's place when we used to go visit in the summer, and then so eventually my parents bought an apartment, not the next door one, but the one next to that, and then that place was like, it felt like a temple. It was
Right.
orange walls with pillars, and I don't like there was a carving in the wall to make it look like a mosque, but why? I don't know why. It was like they tried to decorate it, and it was all just orange, the brightest orange you can think of, and that's where we lived for the rest of the
Wow.
Oh no.
It was
Wow.
such an odd, like they tried to make it look modern-ish. This was 2007, so I don't know. It was weird.
No, growing up when I used to watch like some Syrian dramas, I'm not sure if you've ever seen a house like this, but like in the Syrian dramas, there's always like a courtyard that has
Oh,
like a
yeah.
little fountain.
Yeah, like are you thinking like Bob and Hada or something?
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, well, they have them in the homes that are older, and people still live there. Like they're thousands of years old. We walk by them. They're usually near Suhamadia, I think. But we lived in Mahajrin, which is literally on a mountain.
Huh.
And these were like newer places compared to that. Newer meaning like 100 years old or something, not like they're 1,000 years old.
1,000 years old.
But those courtyards are so pretty. They're so nice.
That's actually a really important distinction to say that newer means 100 years old in the Middle East.
Right.
There are restaurants in other parts of the world that have literally been standing for over 1,000 years.
Yeah.
It's like you walk somewhere in the West, and some building will say like Anno 1976, and I'm just like, that's embarrassing. Put that on the building when it's 100 years old. Not like, come on, not like 2 decades. Get out of here.
Yeah, you can tell when a place is like even like 100 years old. They don't have the door is not actually a door, it's just a hole in the wall. when you go
Right,
into the
yep.
building, and then everyone else
Yep.
has their own actually a door for once, but
Right.
like it's interesting because we used to have a lot of stray cats come into my grandma's home because she was on the first floor, so obviously there was no main door, it was just a hole, so they go
Yeah.
in, and it's always we get like 10 of them at our door whenever we go get shawarma from this one place. And they all come after us. There's a shawarma place in Syria, in Damascus, called Rayan. It is very popular, and they only come when they smell that. My grandma will travel for 40
That's the
minutes
best
to get
endorsement.
that. And the cats know it's good. And then we
Cat
have to
approved.
just hear all the meows coming from the front door and our windows, and we're just like, this is...
No.
I felt so bad because they're strays. So we sometimes will go out and try and give them food after, but like while we're eating, it's very distracting.
Right.
How does the conversation always come back to food? I skipped breakfast today. I'm not a happy camper.
I'm gonna.
Let
Rami,
me
go ahead, but I have a feeling that I might need to stop a food conversation.
All right, let me try some.
Oh, no.
So, I just love how consistent the I genuinely, starting this topic, I genuinely thought we would have very different stories.
But it's the same.
It will be the same, and you know why? It'll be like everything is gonna be kept on to mint condition because all the furniture is wrapped in plastic.
There's a doily on the table, some plastic on the couch.
With some doilies on the PlayStation.
The PlayStation. I was just gonna say that. It's so perfect.
All right, it's time to put a doily on this podcast. How about this? Osama?
That's an 11 out of 10. You win.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This has been another episode of the Habibis podcast. Please follow us on Twitter. We are at _Habibis. And Nuha, where can people find you?
I am on Twitter. My handle is Nuha, Nuha, not Noah. Like the whole handle is called Nuha, not Noah. That's a story for another time. But I'm sure you can know what that means. I ramble.
Put it in the show notes.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Salam.
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 That was the Habibis podcast for this week. I am Fawzi Mesmar, your host for this episode. You can find me on Twitter at Fawzi Mesmar. My fellow Habibis were Osama Dorias, who you can find on Twitter at Osama Dorias, and Rami Ismail, who you can find on Twitter at THA_Rami. Send us your questions, stories, and suggestions via info@thehabibis.com. Intro and outro music was provided by Malik Zubayla, and the logo was provided by Ibrahim Hamdi. The Habibis is a weekly podcast about 3 game developers drinking good Arab tea, with new episodes launching every Friday, inshallah. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe to your favorite podcasting service, or check out thehabibis.com for more information. Thank you for listening. Salam.